Does your church need a mobile app? That's a question I get a lot, and I'm going to talk about it in this video. Why not? Why maybe? And what I hope is the future of church apps. Hey there, if we haven't met yet, I'm Nils Smith, your social media guide, and I help church leaders, ministry leaders, business leaders, nonprofit leaders, leaders of all kinds, maximize social media, digital ministry, digital content, technology to accomplish their goals. And in this video, I want to talk specifically to church leaders and also ministry leaders outside of the church. Do you need a mobile app? And this is a question that I get a lot, and I've been an app guy. Maybe 15 years ago when I first got my first iPhone, I built a church mobile app in a weekend just because I was curious and I saw the opportunity and potential. It got me in the newspaper, which actually got me my job at Community Bible Church in many ways, and got a lot of the attention for that. But the truth is that church app was kind of useless, if I'm honest. But it taught me about mobile apps. Mobile apps are a brilliant part of our lives and helped us in a lot of ways. But does your church actually need a mobile app? So let me start by talking about why you don't need a mobile app. Okay, the first reason that I think churches should think about saying no to mobile apps is the cost. Now, mobile apps have become much more cost effective. I remember early days of mobile apps when I was helping build maybe my second church mobile app. It was pretty expensive. It was probably around $20,000 and $500 a month, which still is actually pretty cheap when it comes to mobile development. I've helped a lot of businesses do mobile apps and spending 6 and 7 figures to build apps, and they can be that valuable, but they have to align to our mission. And the cost now, while I think the costs have come down, it's still a significant expense that I believe the value is not necessarily worth the cost. So I think the cost is actually the first reason you should consider not getting a mobile app. The second reason I think you should think about saying no is it's one more thing to update. I think about most smaller churches that maybe have 1 or 2 staff people, and you got to update the website, you got to update the bulletin, you got to update your signs, you got to update, signs around your church, you've got to update social media. It's having an app is another thing to manage and another thing to update. And what often happens is then you forget to update it and it's out of date, and then it's even more useless for you. And so unless you have both the money and the time to keep it updated and make it valuable, I think it's maybe a no. The third reason to say no is confusion for your church members. And I think your members have a question of like, do I go to the website? Do I go to the app? Like, where do I go for information about the church? And so when you have one place and you're always saying go to the website, that's clear. But when you're like, go to the website or the app, that the or creates question. And so we want to avoid confusion. And so we're going to end up spending more money, more time, and additional confusion in communicating with our church members. And so for that reason, it might also be a no. And the fourth reason that I would consider saying no is the current functionality just isn't that valuable. The primary use for most churches with their app is 3 parts. It's basically sermon engagement, it's giving, and it's push notifications. Well, the reality is people can watch your sermons on your website, or they can watch it on YouTube, or they can listen to it in their podcast apps, that you can communicate more directly through text message than push notifications. And you can basically do everything on your website that you could probably do in that app. And the giving side is actually probably pushing to your website anyway. And so the value proposition of the current functionality of most church apps, I believe, make both the cost and the time investment probably not worth the value that you would pay in both your time and your money to get the functionality that they currently do. All that said, I am not anti mobile apps. I love mobile apps. I love working. I work with several companies that their primary platform is their mobile app and mobile app development. And I believe that smartphones are probably the most important technology of our lifetime, and the accessibility and the opportunity that we have. And we look at the Bible YouVersion app, that's changed the way we read the Bible. And so mobile apps can be an incredible gift to the church, and I believe can be an incredible resource to churches, and have been for a lot of churches, and I believe can be. The question is whether they're the right for you right now. So let me talk about why mobile apps today can be a good thing for your church. The first reason is differentiating communication for your visitors and your members. When you think about somebody that hasn't yet come to your church, where are they going to go first? They're going to go to your website. Well, if your website just has a bunch of information overload for your members, that visitor isn't going to get the key essential information that they're looking for. So when you have a mobile app that can be that primary place of communication and engagement for your members, it creates differentiation for your visitors. And so maybe when it comes to announcements in your church, you continue to say, go to the mobile app, go to the mobile app to get engagement. And it's not go to the website or the mobile app. It's continuing to communicate to your congregation this path, to your potential visitors this path, and you can create differentiation between the two platforms. So that is a high value when used differentiated, rather than basically having the same thing duplicated on both places. And then the second opportunity is the native functionality. And one of the things that I am seeing more naturally integrated more and more into apps, and I'm seeing this most specifically with my church, is we use Planning Center and how their Church Center app, which is not the native custom mobile app for our church, but it's shared among other churches, but how you can register for events, how you can give easily within the platform. They're using great native functionality that we're used to using in other apps, and it's built right into that app, and it's really built for members. Visitors are not going to go to the Church Center app and find our church and get information. It is a place for our members to engage and sign up for things and register for things and pay for things and donate. And so it is a great platform functionality wise that is native to the app that you can't really do easily in mobile web. And so that differentiation is high value. Now the user interface isn't great. It's still limited in a lot of ways. There's a lot of opportunity for that to develop, but that wasn't the case 10 years ago. And it is way more than just a media player. And so I am happy to see where a lot of these platforms are progressing from an integration standpoint. Now let's talk about where I hope mobile apps go into the future. And I do see some platforms already heading in this direction. And the first is more native integration, especially with our database system, so that our app can actually be a customized platform for each of us individually to both find content that we can engage with from our church, to find events and activities for us to engage in, to maybe even connect and communicate with each other among the church and with the staff. And so I believe that basically this hub for our members, for content, for events, for activities, for giving, it can all live and basically be our own kind of database integration platform or social network even for our church right there within the app. And so I do believe this differentiation of a website that's primarily focused on first-time visitors with other functionality built into that as well. It doesn't have to exclusively be that. And then this app that is really built as a hub for our members is where I think in integrating more and more the native functionality of a phone, like we're using the Uber app, or like we're using Google Maps, or like we use our airlines apps, and how we use these apps. And so the native functionality really helps us integrate it and make it very useful for us. And then the second thing that I really hope to see more and more of from churches is discipleship content, more of like a learning management system built into an app where people can go through a Bible study that's created just for their church right there in the app, or they can go through trainings if they're going to start volunteering in a ministry, or and really begin to become more interactive in how we're more effectively discipling our congregation. Now, discipleship happens in community, and it happens best face to face, but it can be augmented with digital resources that can be natively integrated into our mobile apps. And so I'm really excited about where these technologies can go into the future, and where I believe I'm seeing hints of development moving into the future, but it's still not there yet, at least not from what I've seen. If you have a mobile app that you love or functionality that you've really found to be valuable, I'm curious, do you find your mobile app to be well worth the investment in time and money? Or are you moving in the other direction of, you know what, maybe it's time to bail on the mobile app. It's just not that useful for our church. I'd love to know what you think, but those are my 2 cents and my opinions. For what it's worth, I love mobile apps. I hope they're a big part of our future in the church, but for the last 10 years, I've watched them become probably too expensive and ineffective for the cost and the time investment. And so I hope that changes into the future. That's my 2 cents. Tell me what you think. I'd love to know. Drop your thoughts in the comments. Thanks so much for watching. We'll talk to you again on the next video.